The Blast from Our Past Network.
Supernatural, Halloween, exploitation, slashers, and everything in between. Welcome to the Podcasting After Dark Watchlist, the show where a guest chooses a topic and the hosts, along with the guest, discuss their top 5 favorites. Light a candle, hide your Ouija board, and enjoy the Podcasting After Dark Watchlist.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcasting After Dark presents The Watchlist. Holy shit, we resurrected it. And we had to resurrect it because we have our boy Lee Germaney on this week. Dude,
Yeah.
What's up, Lee?
Not too much. How you guys doing?
Vinyl!
Fantastic.
I was going to say, and guess what? This is not a watch list based on our favorite vinyls.
We'll change that.
much to Crystal's chagrin, I'm sure.
We'll get to that.
But this watch list, we are talking about something that is very near and dear to all three of our hearts, especially from the old Suncoast days back in the day. Zach probably Tower Records as well, but we are talking our top 3 favorite Anchor Bay releases. It can range from the clamshell stuff to the DVD, tin can editions and stuff like that. And I'm excited to talk about this. This is actually a watch list that I feel like been sort of brewing for a while because Zach and I always talk about Anchor Bay. And then Lee kind of mentioned a comment, I think, on Patreon about, oh, man, if you guys do that one, I'll be on it. And I was like, well, yeah, let's do it. So, Lee, my man, before we jump into this, give us any background on yourself, buddy?
Well, been following you guys for the last, 4 or so years?
Yeah,
But,
you're an OG. You've been with us since the beginning, pretty much.
Yeah. So, no, just up here in Canada, chilling, just hoarding movies and music since I was a kid.
And Lee, what shirt are you wearing right now?
I'm going to upset Diallo, but I am wearing my Hilarious House of Frightenstein t-shirt. Represent.
Well, you may upset Diallo, but you'll make Tim very happy.
Yeah, from my hometown, represent Hamilton.
And Lee has a baseball cap on that says 90s cartoons rule.
Sure.
I'm kidding.
Cal's rolling over his grave right now. Zach, my man, how
Give
you
me the
been,
middle
buddy?
finger.
It's been literally like 3 weeks since we've talked because I've been over in Japan.
My God, it's been a minute since we've seen each other, and I think Lee was just on $2 late fees, Tales from the Video Store, like the month before.
We had to even it out.
Yeah, so, and then I think when this whole thing went down, the inception of doing Anchor Bay stuff, I think it was like a slam dunk obvious thing, and we had so much fun with Lee on our show. We're like, we got to bring Lee to PAD. We got to balance it out, the yin with the yang.
That's right. And what did you guys talk about on the, for everybody out there, what did you talk about on the Tales from the Video Store?
You.
We did actually. No, the heydays of renting movies. That's what we cover on Tales from the Video Store on $2 late fees Patreon. The heyday of video stores back in the 80s and some of the fun movies that we would rent. Our favorite movies. I think it started delving into horror. We covered a whole hodgepodge of topics, and my God, that was fun. But then this is fun too.
Hours.
Literally, everyone listening, I haven't seen Corey in 3 weeks practically, so it's been wild, and it's nice to get back into the pocket with you and cover a watch list. Like you said, we resurrected it from the grave. Lee is a big part of us bringing it back, and could possibly be a big part of us crashing and burning and never doing it again, depending on how this episode goes.
It's all on your shoulders, Lee.
Like, I gotta channel Dustin every now and then. Dustin is, the cynical, sarcastic side of $2. So I gotta channel that and drop that in. And I didn't follow it up with a just kidding. So there you go. But no, I mean, and you brought up Suncoast. I think Suncoast Video, at least here in the United States, was the retail store that I bought the majority of my movies at back in the day.
Yeah.
On VHS. And but Lee, did you have something similar to Suncoast up in Canada?
Yeah, we didn't have Suncoast and we didn't have Tower. It was mostly back in the 80s or 90s. It was mostly the malls. So we'd have HMV, which is no longer, well, it is and it isn't, but it was gone. But HMV was the main one, and then we'd have like Sam the Record Man, which is like the big one that was in Toronto.
Wait, you said Sam the Record Man?
Sam the Record Man would have music and movies. So that
love that name.
Yeah. So when the big one was in Toronto, but then we'd have smaller ones in malls. But the big one in Toronto, it had the traditional, like the big landmark of the two. The symbol, I think they still get the symbol, the neon lights, somewhere built on another building. But it was like when they closed down Sam the Record Man, they kept the logo because it was so historical.
Oh,
That's where I got a lot of my old VHS, like my old Mystery Science Theater VHS from Rhino. Those all came pretty much from Sam the Record Man. But then HMV was the one from the mall that I would go to all the time. And then now they're pretty much all gone, except for like the small little independent ones. Like the one I go to now is called Cinema One, and they don't have like one or two, but they have all like the independents, all the like the Scream and the Vinegar Syndrome and all that stuff. They have all that stuff there.
Well, you also have a Vinegar Syndrome store up there.
Yeah,
we're son of a bitch.
we're spoiled rotten. Yeah, and they sell obviously all their stuff along with all the other boutique ones.
Oh, cool.
So, like, if you're looking for all the Severin, they have all the Severin. They have Anchor. I'm sorry, they have Arrow. Okay, Anchor Bay is my head. And then just downstairs, they have a whole bunch of vinyl and VHS. So
they have two floors?
Yes, yeah. So,
wow.
You guys come to Toronto. We got to make a trip down there.
I would love to visit. I've only been to Vancouver, and beautiful country, my man. Beautiful country.
Yeah, I've been there once. So
wow, that's amazing though. I definitely besides coming to visit Lee and Crystal.
Yeah,
because Crystal's like, what about me? Huh? What about me?
We invited her.
Don't be a hunky boy mystery party. What's going on here?
Exactly.
Did you? By the way, quick side note: the Stephen Kostansky, who made Psycho Gorman, did you hear that he's making a Death Stalker?
I did.
Remaking Death Stalker.
Yeah, and
right
they're
now?
doing it through, I think, Kickstarter. It's crowdfunded.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, sign me up. I think, Zach, we have to actually, maybe we'll do a back-to-back. We've talked offline a lot about starting to do like originals and remakes, like we want to do Dawn of the Dead and then Dawn of the Dead, stuff like that. So maybe Deathstalker will be one of the first ones we do, because we have to cover the Stephen Kostansky one, and maybe we'll have him back on the show again.
Get him back on the show, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you're listening, Stephen, and we hope you are, because you said you like our show. I think you did. Yeah, note that, sir. Note that for sure. I was also going to point out, too, that recently there's an article in the Guardian, the San Francisco Guardian, about physical media making a comeback, and Diabolique DVD, the guy who runs that, I believe his name's Jesse, like that Carly Simon song. He was interviewed in that article and was talking about how, obviously physical media is making the resurgence. It's a worthy investment. And Corey and I offline and online rail on the fact that physical media, at least digital media, is a death zone for a lot of properties. And Anchor Bay is one of those companies that way back when they were like your go-to. They were your Vinegar Syndrome. For those wondering, they were your Vinegar Syndrome. They were your Shout Factory, Scream Factory, all in one.
Yeah,
they were the OG boutique.
Yeah, they were really, like you mentioned, Rhino, Lee, and I think Rhino was definitely more like the mainstream cult stuff, and Anchor Bay would go deep. So I'm expecting us to go really deep in this episode.
Well, for those of you who don't know, I have a little bit of a background on Anchor Bay. So I'll read that off, and because I found some of this stuff interesting as well. So a little bit of a backstory on it. The first incarnation of Anchor Bay Entertainment dates its origins back to two separate home video distributions: Video Treasures, formed in 1985, and Star Maker Entertainment, founded in 1988. Both companies sold budget items, including reissues of previously released home video programming at discount prices. Both companies competed with each other for years. In January of 1989, Video Treasures was acquired by Handelman Company. In June 1994, Star Maker Entertainment was acquired by Handelman as well. Eventually, both companies merged to form a new corporate umbrella, Anchor Bay Entertainment, in May 1995. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Anchor Bay specialized in the release of horror films, particularly cult films and slasher movies from the 70s and the 80s. One of its first releases was Prom Night. It also released Halloween, Hellraiser, and many others, leading the home video market for obscure and retro horror films. Like we said, they were the first, Vinegar Syndrome. In 2003, Handelman sold Anchor Bay to IDT Entertainment. On February 4th, 2005, the Securities and Exchange Commission filed civil charges against two former employees of Anchor Bay Entertainment, formerly owned by Handelman. The SEC's complaint alleges that the two employees caused the company to enter $2 million worth of fraudulent transactions. The transactions involved the purported sale of slow-moving or obsolete inventory to business partners, coupled with secret buyback provisions. The inventory included worthless video boxes and sleeves. Handelman subsequently restated its financial statements to correct these accounting errors. In 2006, Liberty Media, the owner of the Starz cable network, purchased IDT Entertainment and renamed it Starz Media. So thus was the end of Anchor Bay. But on February 15th, 2024, my birthday, Thomas Zabek and Brian Katz, co-founders of Umbrellic Entertainment, acquired the rights to the Anchor Bay Entertainment name. Zabek and Katz plan to revive Anchor Bay. The new company will specialize in genre films, undiscovered treasures, cult classics, and remastered catalog re-releases. So it looks like Anchor Bay is coming back as a Blu-ray imprint, which is awesome because going back to what we were just talking about, we are big-time collectors of physical media. So I am very happy to see Anchor Bay come back. I'm happy to see that logo. And one little bit of information about me: when I lived in LA, I was up in the valley, and anytime I drove in Burbank, I think it was up by the airport, I would always see the Anchor Bay headquarters. And when I first moved to LA, I even dropped off my resume there to try to get a job. Never heard back.
Yeah, because they were too busy embezzling money and doing shady stuff.
So, Lee, I want to ask you before you kick off your stuff,
Sure.
your list. I mean, we all have fond memories of Anchor Bay, but what gravitated you towards them? For me, I always loved those clamshell cases for the VHSs. I thought they were beautiful. Nothing else, no one else sort of does those. They didn't do them back then. And even now, like how the Arrow Blu-ray cases are kind of different than anybody else's. There's just something nice about having a very unique case. But what sort of gravitated? Was it the titles, or just was it anything else?
Well, a lot were the titles, yeah, but it was the way they stood out on the shelves for even the rental places I went to. Some of them did have the clams just resting on the shelf, and they just stood out compared to, obviously you had the old school big box ones that stood out, but those were disappearing off the shelves before that, and obviously they wouldn't even show the big box because people would steal them.
Yeah.
But the clams were, and then the fact that you could buy the clam cases in you guys Tower and Suncoast, but up here we could buy the clams here, and they stood out. They looked a lot nicer than the cardboard, and you weren't going to bend the corner.
Right.
They look nice on the shelf.
Yeah, and even though VHSs are obviously a lot more durable than DVDs are, it still felt nice to have your special edition movie like Army of Darkness or something in that clamshell, knowing you're not going to drop it and break the side of it, or something like that. Zach, what sort of gravitated you towards the Anchor Bay stuff?
I think that too, the fact that they seem to take lesser known movies and elevate them with the box art. I remember it's not lesser known, but I remember when Dawn of the Dead came out for the 60th different reissue that they put out, and I think the clamshell might have been green or it was red or something like that, but it had this cool like multiple like Andy Warhol-esque image on there, print. And like you mentioned, Lee, there you go. Yeah, Lee's actually holding up the one that I'm talking about in a black box, which is cool. But the Army of Darkness one that you had mentioned was in a gold clamshell.
That's right, yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I love gold. It was, it was cool. I'm a sucker for these decorative boxes. Blu-ray came out, everything was blue. And then I think, Severin does black ones. Arrow does a different
like a clear
take on it as well.
Yeah.
Clear, yeah. And, but also, too, it was the first time when I started getting familiar with, like, limited edition, right? And I think that was also what drew me towards it. And actually, that's probably what propelled my collecting, because I'm like, I got to get it now because they're limiting it to 5,000 units. I better get one of them now. Spoiler, Vinegar Syndrome puts out like 1,000 units for most of their stuff now. So, and that stuff sometimes will sit in their inventory for some time. So if you think about that, unfortunately, there weren't 5,000 people that wanted to buy one particular movie I'll bring up in a little while. That's what drew me into it. How about you, Corey?
I'm a sucker for those clamshell cases. And like you mentioned,
You're a sucker for clams.
and you call me Sleazy C. The Sleazy Z coming in hot.
I'm talking about seafood, dude.
And then like
Get your mind out of the gutter.
And then like you got awesome covers like the one Lee has there of the Dawn of the Dead, and Zach, you mentioned, and it might actually show up on my list, but that Army of Darkness director's cut with like Ash, like that Frazetta painting of Ash holding his arms up. I was like where else do you get VHSs like that? It was only with the Anchor Bay thing. So yeah, dude, it's just I miss them so much, and I don't have any of my old clamshells anymore. I know a lot of people out there, Lee included, Crystal, are going to be very upset by this, but I purged all my VHS stuff, and and please, no one send me any. I am not getting into the VHS collecting.
Yes, you are.
I don't have any space. I do not have any space for them. So, but I do miss them. I miss the feel. I miss the feel of that rounded corner, that rounded bookend back corner of it. Oh God, they were so good. And then like just knowing about production, it's just that little extra cost of making the clamshells versus the cardboard box or whatever. It elevates it so much.
Yeah, I was going to quickly say, I think moving to LA for anyone, that's why we end up purging, because we go through a depression phase of where we're like, I don't need this anymore, and I got to be a man or whatever, all that garbage. And then you find the person you're supposed to be with, and then everything changes, and you go back to being kid again,
Yep.
which is wonderful. And I love that there's a resurgence again, a limited resurgence with VHS titles. I know like Psycho Gorman got put on in VHS, which I own. And so Crystal, I own a lot of VHS, just so you know, just no more Anchor Bay. In the Void and other limited.
You got me Color Out of Space. I have it right up on my shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
The VHS of that.
Which is the VHS of that,
which is cool because I think it's actually like a purple VHS, actually in it,
It is. The Void is a clear VHS cassette. I got Phase 4. Mondo put out a Phase 4 VHS big box.
Our rad one we got from Vinegar
The rad
Syndrome.
one. Yeah, Lee and I both have that rad one that's clear as well with a light up box when you open it up. It's beautiful. Like I think these movies, like the Blu-ray VHS has gone the same as vinyl. I have to say it that way every single time because it's a collector's market now. It's no longer mainstream, which I honestly love. I think I'm glad. I'm glad that I'm glad that these companies are thriving and putting this quality into it again. And
like MVD.
And we haven't, like MVD. We haven't seen that since Anchor Bay. The difference between MVD and Anchor Bay is Anchor Bay wasn't recalling every single one of the movies left and right for some godforsaken reason.
I got
I'm
my
glad
joysticks.
I held out on that one.
Lee, did you get your joysticks?
No. Zach gave me the heads up, and I read it up beforehand too. I'm like, oh, hold off.
Yeah, I ordered it through Amazon, so I actually got it. I opened it, I looked at it, I'm like, this is gorgeous. I was like, let me just pop it in and see. And yeah, it didn't play out of the right speaker or something, so I had to send it back. But I'm not gonna lie, the cover art on that thing is gorgeous, and I can't wait. I think they've now pushed it back a few months for the new shipping. So
yeah. Oh,
so
sorry.
Speaking of Amazon,
yeah.
I still haven't got my Conan 4K.
Oh,
Still not. Nope. So who knows?
Wow, bummer.
Yeah.
Bummer. And to follow up with MVD in regards to that joysticks, so they tell everybody to return. For everyone wondering about the discussion about joysticks, the 80s movie joysticks, MVD put out a pristine, like beautiful Blu-ray edition with a poster and slipcover and really cool homage to like arcades. And then it came out in January. It was flawed. There was a problem with one of the discs, and so they told everybody to return it if you bought it. And then, like yesterday, they put out a statement on Facebook, on their Facebook page, saying, well, we've heard enough complaints that we'll actually, if you still have it, we're going to reissue a replacement disc for you.
I returned it. I left it for my sister-in-law to return. So, I mean, it went back to Amazon. And then, of course, I put in the pre-order again for the new release.
Same.
And even though, like, it shipped at, like, $17 from Amazon, now the pre-order is, like, $34. And I'm like,
Really?
it better come back to me at, like, $20 or something, because that's fucking ridiculous.
So my whole point of all of this is, like, Anchor Bay didn't have issues like that, and it's a bummer that clearly they went out of business, came back. I remember Blue Underground was guys from Anchor Bay left Anchor Bay to form Blue Underground, along with Bill Lustig. I remember being at a Fangoria convention and them talking about that specifically, that they were gonna create this niche market for a darker, more like 42nd Street kind of stuff. And
Blue Underground has all the Fulci stuff, but their Blu-rays are so expensive. They're always like $35 or something, and they like never on sale.
Like the Vigilante and all that. Yeah.
Come up to Canada.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything's $30 or more.
Well, I can't wait to dig into these movies. Lee, we're gonna let you go first, and Lee's just gonna go through his list in order, and then we'll just kind of have a general discussion. And it doesn't matter, if it's the movie itself was the reason you loved it, or the cover art, or whatever. We just want to have a discussion about our love for Anchor Bay and our love for that late 90s, 1998, 99, early 2000s DVD collecting era, and just see where the conversation goes. So Lee, kick it off, buddy. Your top three with an honorable mention or a dishonorable mention, whichever way you want to go with it.
Can I do one of each?
Sure, why not? You're the guest. You do whatever you want,
Yes.
my friend.
All right, well, I'm going to kick it off with an odd one that is not horror, but it's the old Disney Return to Oz clamshell VHS.
I remember that one.
And that was one of the first ones I remember picking up at the video store. And that one just, stuck in my head since I was a kid. If you've ever seen it, it leaves nightmares in your brain for the rest of your life. And it was one of those, like, when Disney movies were, kind of creepy. Like that one, and then there was, like,
The Lady in White, right?
yeah, and then...
Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yep, that one was creepy as hell.
Yep.
But this one, like, with the Wheelers, and just, it was not your typical Wizard of Oz sequel. With the princess had all the different heads that she would take off. And then that was the first I noticed that they had reversible sleeves where you could actually, with obviously VHS, you couldn't because they're cardboard, but like with these ones, like the DVDs, like most of them we have now, like Shout, would have reversible covers. These ones on the reverse side would have information about the movie. And that I thought was pretty neat. And then, this one also came with lobby cards, which was also not a first, but it was one of the first for me. But that one definitely stands out. And I still have that copy. So same with you guys, purging all your movies. I had to do the same, but I kept my favorites. That's for sure.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember watching Return to Oz? Or
That movie's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, Bodie just watched Wizard of Oz for the first time, and then I said, well, we should watch Return to Oz. He's like, oh, let's watch the trailer. And then we did. He's like, let's not watch this. So there you go.
Yeah, no,
I'll be watching that with the kids in a while.
That scared me. The one particular scene in Neverending Story where the knight gets like zapped by the two statues, and then they kind of go and see his face, and it's all burnt up and gnarly.
Yeah.
That scared the shit out of me as a kid too.
Yeah.
Nightmare inducing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Welcome to the
times.
'80s.
Right.
Oh man. You want my number 2?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So number 2, I'm going to go with the tin, not steelbook. Sorry, correction. But the tin of Maniac.
Oh.
So, anyone have that on the list?
Nope.
I just basically I have a long list, and then if one comes up on my
I
list,
did
I
the
just
same.
push it off. Maniac was on my list.
Sorry, I apologize.
No, don't because it's a beautiful.
It
go
is.
ahead, Lee. Go ahead.
Real quick, can I apologize by saying that I've never seen Maniac? Lee's
you
face.
can't
Lee's
apologize.
face just dropped.
You cannot apologize for that.
I know. I can't. I know.
Once you set it out on live air, all the emails are just going to be, yeah.
Crystal just rolled over on her vinyl.
On her doll.
Her vinyl. Beep beep. She went beep beep. What?
Yeah.
So, patrons, you heard it here first, folks. If you are at the highest tier of our Patreon, go to patreon.com/podcastingafterdark and sign up to our highest tier to become a producer of the show. You can force Corey to watch Maniac and break it down.
For an extra $5, you can slap him in the face for not watching it.
I'll fly up to Eugene, Oregon to do that.
I'll meet you halfway.
Oh, what's so awesome about that that tin can? I'm trying to just move past it.
Like he's like, moving on.
Moving on.
Nothing to see here.
That was one tin I didn't own, but I wish I had, because anyone that remembers having it or owning it, did you own it?
I did own it, but so I owned the tin, and then I owned the DVD that came out prior to it, and that's signed by Bill Lustig, and I still have that, but I don't have the tin anymore.
I've got the DVD signed somewhere in here with Bill and I think Tom Savini.
Oh yeah, Tom Savini, sweet.
Yeah. But the thing that stood out the most for the Maniac tin, if anyone didn't own it, it came with the soundtrack. And what was different with the soundtrack was it was actually Joe Spinell's face. And it was etched. It wasn't a circle. It was his friggin' face just lasered etched. And you just put that in your fucking player. And
Yeah, it's terrifying. For those of you besides Corey who haven't seen Maniac, it's a very brutal, and you could put it in the same category as Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, and which you have seen, Corey, right?
Nope.
Just
I liked when I was a kid and stuff. Like, I think I just watched a lot more of the supernatural stuff. I knew it. It's like that earwig. But yeah, I didn't do a lot of like real killer movies. You know, I always liked it to have like some kind of supernatural spin. Even when I was a kid, my favorite Jasons were when he became a zombie. Although now my favorite Jason is one of my favorites is Part 2. But like I always liked more of the supernatural stuff.
Sure,
I know. Sorry.
So yeah, no, Maniac's great.
Moving on, Lee.
moving on. Okay, well, that was a tough one, but I have to go with one of my favorite movies of all time, and that was the Dawn of the Dead one that I showed earlier, the VHS.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It was one of the first times where I saw extra stuff at the end of the VHS, which I think was just a trailer, and I think it was a commercial for the Monroeville Mall, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't watched the VHS in a long time, but again, I think that was. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to. It's foggy, but I'm pretty sure that was like their Easter egg.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. It was like Easter eggs on VHS, but obviously you can't hide them. They had to put them at the end. And that one also had I think reverse cover, which was like I think it might have been the Italian cover with again story plots and write up on the movie itself. But
so cool.
Yeah.
I had that Anchor Bay one as well, but my favorite cover, if you guys remember, was the 2 VHS one. I mean, they had to break the movie up into 2, but I loved if you guys remember that one, I loved on the back of it, they had just a profile shot of a guy in the gas mask. Like that was all in shadow, and then it was kind of like orange behind him. I just loved that image so much. I thought it was really cool that I mean, I didn't like the fact that the movie was broken into two VHSs, but that is still like my favorite cover of the Dawn of the Dead releases.
That was also Anchor Bay, right?
I think it was. I think it was the previous one before they put out the clamshell one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. See, people who people who are fans of the movie Titanic can relate because of his 2 VHS tapes.
Well, I've told that story about how the most mind-blowing thing I ever saw when I worked at the video store was that 2 VHS tape Predator, but it wasn't the movie broken up into 2 in half. It was literally you got 2 copies of Predator in one case that was designed to hold 2 VHSs. So I was like, what the thought process was, you watched it so much you broke it. And you had a backup copy, I guess, which I guess is plausible for Predator because the movie's
Predator,
great.
yeah. I just remember going off topic, but the Stephen King's It. Mm-hmm. So for the DVD, it was you had to flip it over halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And then
Warner
people,
Brothers one,
and people didn't realize, my movie's broken. I only get half the movie. I'm like, you gotta flip it like Laserdisc. You gotta flip it over.
Right.
I had Laserdisc too, but I feel like I have a memory of the same scenario with Dawn of the Dead DVD, like one of the first DVDs for Dawn of the Dead as well. Because I do remember those days we had to flip the fucking DVD over.
There was the time where they had the widescreen on one side and then the
the pan and scan on the other. Yeah, exactly.
Come a long way, baby.
Sure as hell have.
Back in my day.
Well, and I'm like, and I just got the Aliens 4K.
I haven't watched it yet.
The best looking 4Ks I've ever seen. But on it is like on one disc is like the theatrical cut, the director's cut, bonus material, like all on one disc.
On one side.
Yeah.
One side.
Does it look okay though? Because I'm hearing mixed reviews of the 3 that just came out by Cameron.
Oh no, I've never seen a Blu-ray or 4K look better in my entire life.
Yeah, okay, because I'm hearing the True Lies looks kind of AI-ish.
Interesting.
Put it that way.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm going to take that and give it a look in a little bit, but
Bummer.
It's
Well, it doesn't have any, like, in the blacks, there's no artifacting or whatever, and everything is super clear and super sort of smooth. So maybe they do run an AI pass over it, but, like, I thought it looked amazing.
Yeah, I grabbed that and, True Lies and The Abyss, but I haven't watched them yet.
Yeah, I need to get True Lies and The Abyss as well, and I think they're coming out with, finally, Terminator on 4K.
They are.
So
Well, they screwed that one up, too, originally.
Yeah. So hopefully they're going to get it right this time. Mm-hmm. Lee, what are your 2 honorable mentions?
I hope this isn't on any of your list, but the honorable one is The Wicker Man. The wooden box. Do you guys ever remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that one. I don't think did I get it? I might have got it. I might have got it. Yeah, but go ahead. That's great.
It was
great
just,
choice.
it just played in with the theme of the movie at the end. Obviously, the ending, but this being in a wooden box just stood out as that's 1, creative, 2, very original, and never seen it since. Like obviously you've seen movies come in coffins and other different types of casing, but I've never seen a wooden one before.
I have no memory of this. Was it the same size? Like was the
was
box
a bit
little bigger maybe?
It was a little about the same width, but height it was a bit bigger.
Okay.
I never owned it, but I've seen it several times and was tempted to grab it when I should have.
I feel like I owned it.
I feel like wasn't there a section, Zach, of like Suncoast where they would put like more of the specialty cases and stuff, and it might have been there, and I never gravitated to that spot because they were always more expensive, so I was like, well, what's the sort of point of looking? Maybe it was there.
It probably was. You're triggering a dream I just had not that long ago, where I literally went into a Suncoast and was looking at the. Maybe I was thinking about recording this episode with you guys, but yeah, I think I do have a pretty vivid very vivid memory of seeing that. I feel like I owned it, but I'm not sure now. It's foggy. Everything's foggy as we get older.
Lee, did it come with anything else? Like, did it come with lobby cards as well?
I don't remember. I'm gonna assume yes, but I never owned it, so I don't remember. But just the casing itself just stood out to me. But like it would be hard to carry somewhere in a store because it was like just awkward shaped. So what you guys are saying, like in the weird shaped places, like and the more expensive DVDs, that's where it'd be. Like I'm picturing like the old Anchor Bay Phantasm set in the Sphere.
Yes.
Like, that'd be hard to put on a shelf, so they put it off to the side where like the
or it'd be behind the
shaping.
cash register or something, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Corey, I'm sure we can find an image of that Wicker Man.
Yeah, I'll post that on the socials. Yeah, I'll put that out there for sure.
But if anybody's wondering, what is it, Midsummer? You know, if you're fans of that and you've never seen the original Wicker Man, don't give me this stuff with Nicolas Cage. Go check out the Wicker Man with the guy from The Equalizer and Christopher. Is it Christopher? Yeah, Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
And then the dude from The Equalizer, and not the Denzel. Little Denzel Washington did a movie with Christopher Lee. No, it's the original guy from The Equalizer in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's funny because folk horror now is so big that like I feel like has anyone put out a good version of the Wicker Man? Like, did Arrow put out a version of that?
No, but I think they're coming out with one. I feel like they are.
Yeah, I still have my old Anchor Bay DVD.
Okay.
I haven't upgraded that one yet, but not in the wooden box.
No. Lee, what's your dishonorable mention?
Oof. I'm gonna have to go with the 30th anniversary of Night of the Living Dead. Do you guys remember that one?
I think I actually had that. Was that the black and white cover? Or was it the one where they added the new footage back?
Yes.
I had that on DVD, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think I have that too. But it's new footage that they shot, not re-added. It was what was the original zombie guy? Like he recut it.
Yeah.
And it was just god awful.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It is beyond bad. It is terrible.
Yeah, you can put it in whatever kind of case you want. It's still garbage.
It came out the same time. It was all this post Star Wars special edition. George Lucas did that. Then, but he took footage that he had already shot. And then, E.T. Spielberg took the guns out of the cop's hands. This all came around the same time, all this tinkering. And then George Romero, whatever, they went back and they shot some new scenes. Now I
don't think it had anything to do with George.
Okay, but I do remember that there was a hubbub about it. Like they used the same film stock, they used the same. I might have read this in Fangoria, but they used the same camera and everything. But it just. It was like they added all this gore to it, but it's like it didn't feel like it fit the rest. I mean, I remember it. Like, it's just...
Yeah, to my knowledge, the new footage did not look the same as the old, so that might have been like them hyping it up to sell it, but it was just complete garbage, and it was more of, if I can remember, because I've only watched it once and I was going to throw it in the garbage. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
It was more of the zombie himself, but it was like him made up as a zombie current day, so it didn't even match. It was like, what was the point? And maybe it was because Night was like public domain. Maybe George didn't have a say in it, but I know he didn't have anything to do with it. It was just, I don't even know why Anchor Bay released it. It was that bad.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
it's embarrassing.
No, I had it. I might actually still have it, just because it was such an oddity of a moment in time that I think we'll never see again.
Mm-hmm. I think I still kept the DVD because I think it may have came with the soundtrack, but then again, I don't remember if it was the new music that they added or if it was a bit of both. Like I said, I watched it once and it's been on my shelf collecting dust.
Yeah. No, John Feel, buddy. John Feel.
Yeah.
Good list. Zach, do you want to go next, or do you want me to go next?
Sure. Yeah, no, I don't mind going first or going second.
Hey, everybody. Corey here. I just want to let you know that we'll be right back after these short messages.
Hello, and welcome to BAMPIRE. BAMPIRE is a wildly ambitious, independent horror comedy film.
It is fun, sexy, thrilling, and unpredictable from start to finish.
On the surface, Vampire is a slasher flick set in the 90s.
References Bambi, but it's not just, oh, Bambi, but horror. It's its own thing, and it has a real story to tell.
Vampire is a story that I wrote to encapsulate my own experience growing up in the wilds of Alaska, seeing humankind interact with nature.
So to me, Vampire is just like a fantastic horror comedy, just like a classic kind of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, early Scream era.
It's also a gore fest that will make you wonder if we took the actors back there and really mauled them like that.
It is going to be so wildly entertaining.
It's visceral, it's energetic, it's emotional, it's popcorn, it's candy. It feels like watching a movie. It's a movie.
And now, back to the show.
I don't have a dishonorable mention. If I did, it would have been that god-awful Night of the Living Dead, which I think now people should watch and just, how not to add bonus footage to a movie. Mm-hmm. Not better than Phantom Menace? No. I'm joking, Corey. I'm joking. It's all love. Just don't bring an Old Navy backpack ever again into the Star Wars universe. Okay, yeah, so Lee kind of read my mind initially. Let Sleeping Corpses Lie is my first pick. These are in no particular order, by the way. It was in a steel case, and among many things that it came with little posters with the alternate movie name titles, including The Living Dead of the Manchester Morgue, and a toe tag. And it was like the disc was a single disc, and it came, like, it was a huge case for what actually came in the box. Mm-hmm. But it came with a toe tag, which was amazing. And, I honestly had never seen the movie all the way through until I bought the tin. I was like, oh, I'm getting this. I don't even know if it's good. It's Anchor Bay, so it's going to be good, unless you're getting that Night of the Living Dead edition. But yeah, I loved it. From the moment I watched it with Ray Lovelock. And obviously we broke that down not that long ago. So guys, if you're wondering, go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. Lee, your familiarity with Let Sleeping Corpses Lie in the Anchor Bay tin.
I wish I owned it. I wish I did, because that had the amazing cover that it did. And that's another one I haven't upgraded. So I still have the Anchor Bay DVD of that. But it's one of my favorite zombie movies, and I'm glad you guys broke it down, because that was one I think more people need to watch, because I think a lot of people sleep on it or have never even heard of it. And I think you're right. I think it is because they have so many different titles that they don't know what they're looking for. But it's definitely one that you got to check out for sure.
What was which cover did they use for that one?
It was the black and blue one.
Yeah.
Is it the one with the circles radiating out from the zombie or whatever?
No, it was kind of like kind of black and blue silhouettes.
Okay. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's Corey. Are you familiar with that? Like, you didn't see Let Sleeping Corpses Lie until we broke the movie down, right?
No, I saw that back in college. We watched that in college.
That's right.
As it was like one of those. So, looking back now, I think about it now, it's probably somebody like us, who's teaching the class, and it's just like, guys, you got to see this movie, just trying to get more people to see it. And yeah, he used it as an example of this alternate, everything we kind of talked about, this pre Dawn of the Dead but post Night of the Living Dead, and how it kind of inhabits this weird space and everything. And yeah, I love that movie. Ever since I saw it, I was like, first time I watched it, I was like, oh, this is special. This is beautiful and special.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. My next pick is another film that I consider beautiful and special. Those two words put together, like Provo and Utah. It's called The Lost Continent. So Anchor Bay put out clamshells of a bunch of Hammer horror films, including Rasputin, the Mad Monk, The Reptile, Plague of the Zombies. All of them are really good. But The Lost Continent was kind of like Journey to the Center of the Earth, Hammer style. So a lot more monsters, a lot more, darker elements to it. If you've never seen The Lost Continent, it's really great. So they reissued. They had it in a clamshell, and then it came out on their basic blue DVDs when those came out. I love that movie. It's definitely like a Saturday morning creature feature type of flick. Lee, are you familiar with The Lost Continent?
I'm not actually.
Oh, add that to your list of movies that you should watch.
Is it a
I don't think it's
slap-worthy?
very kid friendly. Most Hammer horror films were, I think, not rated or rated like PG, but this is back when the rating system was very different. So I don't recommend showing it to kids, but it's really cool, like the sets and everything.
Is that it has dinosaurs in it and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it's got they're like these elements of dinosaurs. I don't really want to spoil it because I think you guys should see it.
Does it kind of like Harryhausen type?
Yeah, there are elements to that, but there's practical model effects too, and some cool monsters, and the sets are amazing.
I wouldn't be
The music is
surprised
amazing.
for me or Lee if we'd like watched it and I recognize some of this from Sunday afternoon, cinemas like we always talk about or something like that,
I'll
No
check
doubt.
the trailer out after we're done.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys should check
Yeah.
out The Lost Continent. That was one of my fun clamshell boxes that had come out. I'm just gonna jump ahead, with one that probably would be my number one if I had to choose, simply because I had never seen anything like it up to this point. It's the Phantasm box set that came in the ball.
Yeah.
Phantasm 1 through 4 with the extra disc. And I believe I had to buy it as an import because it was unavailable in the United States for the longest time. It is now, I think, available. I just
Many
don't
times
have
over,
the space for it. But man, when that so for everyone wondering, it's all the discs inside of a sphere. The sphere had foam in it that you could slip the discs into, and it had the teeth. Or the blades of the sphere. It sat on my shelf for years, and I simply wanted it because of the Phantasm 2. I had owned Phantasm 1 for the longest time and on DVD, but Phantasm 2 I had not owned. It was the first time Phantasm 2 had come out on DVD. But then Scream Factory came out with their versions, which were packed with more extras, better looking versions. And I'm like, do I really need this anymore? No, but I wish I still had it because it's beautiful.
Yeah, I wish I
anyways,
owned it too.
Lee, did you have that?
I didn't, but I remember seeing it at one of the movie stores that would carry imports, and that was Region B DVD that if I had the space for it, I would have bought it. But the Arrow one that came out, that's a beautiful, and that comes in a sphere as well.
That's right.
And I think that's all Blu-ray, and then Ghoulish Gary did the artwork for it, and it looks amazing. But
So cool.
Yeah, I'm also jealous that I saw your pictures on Instagram. You going to Dark Delicacies? I'm like,
Well,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so for everyone wondering, Corey and I will be discussing my trip to Dark Delicacies here in Southern California for the 45th anniversary of Phantasm on our wrap-up after dark. And I can't wait to share more about that. But I mean, Phantasm's probably my favorite franchise of all horror films. Just when you talk, Corey, when you talk about fantasy building and like these more kind of supernatural-esque, horror films. Supernatural. Thank you. Phantasm is, for me, it's everything I love. That's why we're doing the Coscarelli Factor, or the Coscarelli Factory, to find out what that's all about when you listen to the episode. Corey, the Silver Sphere, did you have it or did you want it? See it, want to buy it?
I wanted it. I thought it was freaking awesome just for the case alone. I thought that was cool as hell. Although I did sort of, I feel like, do you remember what year that came out?
It was early 2000s, I think.
Okay, I was working at the video store at that point, and I remember I had never really seen the Phantasms, or I'd seen pieces of them, so I kind of had a weekend where I just watched them all or I brought them home and watched them in sort of an order. I know you love Phantasm 2. I remember loving Phantasm 3 out of all of them, so I'm really excited to revisit that whole entire series for the Coscarelli Factor. But yeah, I thought that was a cool case, man. I didn't get it, and I kind of, same as you, I kind of well, you did get it, but you wish you had it. I did wish I got it because it was really neat looking.
really neat looking. Yeah. I was teetering between that one and another thing that Anchor Bay put out. But I think that may be in your top 3. So I'll save it. But I have one more honorable mention really quickly, and it's simply because I saw this movie it was the first time I saw this movie ever, and it changed my life because I was like, I thought the greatest Western was Once Upon a Time in the West. I still think it is, actually. But I saw this movie for the first time because of Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay put out a gold clamshell for it. It's Django, 1966 Django. And they put that out in the late 90s, early 2000s. It had an interview with Franco Nero on it as a VHS tape. So again, Lee, having extras on a VHS tape is always pretty rad.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Full Moon Entertainment, I didn't know other companies that did that. And it was the first time I saw Django. I simply got it because the box art looked cool and it wasn't that expensive. That was the other thing too. Anchor Bay clamshells weren't that expensive in comparison to like 20th Century Fox or, other things. If you've never seen Django, the original, it's a benchmark film for spaghetti westerns, and it's been often imitated, never duplicated. And, down to Robert Rodriguez using his big influence, and Quentin Tarantino as well. Anyways, a Django tape. Have you guys seen Django before? Lee, you've obviously seen Django, right? Are you going to get slapped now?
Yeah, I think I'm going to get slapped. I mean, I've obviously seen the Tarantino version, and I'm aware of the franchise of Django, but I don't think have I? I'm going to put a
Django.
Maybe. So maybe give me a half slap for that.
I'm going to give you half a slap, and I'll give you a full one when I see you in person when you reveal whether or not you saw it. Corey, how about you? Have you?
I think I've seen it once. I think I watched it with my dad. I have memories of that. I was more of a High Plains Drifter kid. I always loved High Plains Drifter.
Well, screw you. No, I mean, look, guys, spaghetti westerns are life to me. That's one of my favorite subgenres for sure. And so Django was like, I've seen it so many times and was obsessed. I wanted crow's feet on my face because westerns had these guys. Like, can't wait till I have crow's feet. Now I have them, and I'm like, can't wait to get rid of crow's feet.
Well, I know it's not a spaghetti western, Zach, but were you a Wild Bunch fan?
I was. But I think that's why I like the Wild Bunch. But I think I like spaghetti westerns more because it was more like it was more over the top and dramatic, and these music scores, were always huge, and they would do weird things just like out of the blue. There may be a western in Corey's pile, spaghetti western. So
I'm always down for a good western. I'm. It's one of those things where I don't watch them. I didn't watch them a lot when I was a kid, but as I've gotten older, I really appreciate a good western. Although that being said, even when I was a kid, I saw Unforgiven in the theater, and I fucking loved it. Lee, are you a Wild Bunch fan at all?
Can't say that I'm a big Western fan in general. So I haven't really watched many, to be honest with you.
Okay, the half slap has now become a full slap. So.
My face is getting redder as we go.
My sister, my brother, my sister, my mother, my sister, my mother. Okay, I'm gonna end mine there, but we'll carry it on over to Little Corey Gory. Little Corey Gory, what do you got? What do you got going on?
Sure. Yeah, buddy. I'll do my number 3. They're kind of in a loose order, but I love them all. We talked about it. The director's cut of Army of Darkness. That cover art stood out to me. He's holding it up. I think it looks like a Frazetta painting or something.
So jacked. It's the most
really
jacked
cool,
he'll ever be.
But also the fact that jacked like how Chevy Chase is on the cover of Vacation, pretty much.
Oh yeah, pretty accurate.
But I just thought it was cool that we got like a director's cut. Now I was a little disappointed when I was younger because I didn't know that the footage wasn't going to be sort of processed. It was still sort of that unprocessed look. But once I got past that, I was like, this is neat. Like, this is cool to actually have. And of course, now it's just another disc on one of the bazillion Army of Darkness releases. And I actually don't like that version. I don't really care for the director's cut ending. I like the theatrical cut. I think the theatrical cut of Army of Darkness is better. But at the time, I thought it was really fucking cool that they put that out and that we had access to it.
I just like
Lee,
the cover.
did you have that one?
I didn't, and I'm just trying to think if they ever reused that cover picture, because that was a really good artist rendering of that picture. That I don't think they ever used that cover art again.
No, I think you're right. I think it was made just for that VHS release.
Because we joke about how many times the Anchor Bay... That was the other thing that Anchor Bay used to do, which is re-release the same title. Like, we were joking about...
Specifically Army of Darkness.
And all the Evil Deads. And there's probably a couple other ones that I'm missing. But, us being collectors, we probably... I don't know how many copies of Evil Dead or Army of Darkness I have owned, but I know it's more than 5.
Yeah. Right.
And they're probably all Anchor Bay.
Yeah.
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 And even, I think even when Stars, when they changed the Stars, I think they still released the Evil Dead movies on top of that.
Zach, did you have that Army of Darkness one?
I had every version, yeah. And I remember that version came out, and I'm with you, too. I appreciate that there was a director's cut. It was probably one of the first times that I realized, like, what a director's cut could look like, outside of, like, some little throwaway scenes. The fact that this had an entirely different ending was not shocking to me, but just it was cool to see that, and I was really excited to get that version. But then I always went back to the original version, and then what you do is you hold on to them for a little while, you sell them to a secondhand store or resale store, and then you buy the next version. Double dip, triple dip, quadruple dip. At least with the Raimi movies, you're doing that. And eventually, I think I stopped. I was like, okay, I don't need any more. I'm good. Even if there's a 4K, I just don't need it anymore.
Yeah. I didn't own Army of Darkness on DVD, but then I did pick up the Shout, Blu-ray or whatever. And Zach, back to your discussion about the first movie that made you realize that they could be different. Mine was Jason Goes to Hell. When I finally saw the director's cut of that, was so much better because they had all the full kills in it and everything, and it made a mediocre movie a little bit better than mediocre.
It's one of my favorites.
It's grown on me for sure. Yeah.
I need to rewatch it. Like, I watched the director's cut a bunch back in the day. I mean, but Part X is my favorite. Jason X is my favorite. So whatever Jason's your favorite, it's okay. Lee, what is your favorite, by the way?
6. And then I guess 3's up there as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm a fan of the Tommy Jarvis franchise, the trilogy there.
Hey, is that the one with
I like
I'm No
Part
Animal?
5.
I think Part 5 has I'm No Animal in it. I'm no animal with you. That's my favorite one, simply because of that song.
Because obviously Part 5 is, not Jason Voorhees, it's Roy, whatever his last name is. But once someone pointed out to me that, like, oh, he has access to, like, all these, like, adrenaline stuff that an ambulance driver would have, and that's why he could, like, take all that punishment.
Cool.
I was like, that's really fucking, like, it's not in the movie, but that's really fucking cool world building right there.
It's super cool world building.
Yeah, I never had an issue with 5. People like crap on 5 like they crapped on Halloween 3. But those were my favorites, Yeah,
I watched the hell out of 5 when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Loved 6 because that's the first zombie Jason, so I watched the hell out of that. My number 2 is a movie we broke down on the show, and I know Lee's probably expecting me to say this. The Car, clamshell VHS of The Car. And
good call.
That wasn't on my one I was thinking you were going to do.
Well, my number 1 I think will be.
Probably.
But I remember, like, when I finally saw that, I was like, oh my god, I saw it at Suncoast, sitting there, and I was like, oh my God, this movie I loved as a kid. Like, it was one of those things where I was like, oh my God, I hadn't thought about this movie in, 10 years at that point or whatever. And I was like, I just bought it immediately. I didn't even care because I loved it so much as a kid, and it was never, to my knowledge, available before that. So I loved, and I love that clamshell. I don't have it anymore, but I love that cover art and everything for that one. Zach, did you have the car on clamshell?
I did not, but I do remember when it came out, and it made me. You bringing it up again reminds me that, this was just a different time when Anchor Bay would release these really semi-obscure movies. You're like, whoa, I haven't seen this in forever. The novelty is not the same as it used to be. Every now and then Vinegar or Arrow or Severin will put out something and you're like, oh, that's cool. I did not expect them to put that out. But Anchor Bay was doing that all the time. Because they were the first. They were really the first to put out stuff that you hadn't seen since you were a little kid, like The Car. And so when it did come out, you snatched it up. Apparently apparently I think our generation is the one that's still buying these now. That's why they're so much more limited now, because back then not many people were buying them. Like, they just sat on the shelf and then they get reduced to like $5 and you're like, oh, that's a bummer. But The Car is one of those movies that it's shark in a car. It's Char.
I had that same feeling when I saw on Dawn of the Discs that they were releasing Death Machine, especially the director's cut. So I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is actually finally happening. And we will be reviewing that on the show. Lee, what are your thoughts in general on The Car?
Well, it's when you think of like killer car movies, you think obviously the first thing is Maximum Overdrive or Christine. And those, I think Anchor Bay probably released Maximum Overdrive, but Christine was off somewhere else. But like you said, Anchor Bay would put out the more obscure ones that people may not have thought of right away, or doesn't have the bigger viewership that the other ones did. But yeah, that was the one thing that Anchor Bay brought these titles to the mass, and if they picked them up, they could watch them. But they were the other titles that no one thought of or remembers.
Good old The Car.
I never had it on VHS. I think I have it on DVD somewhere, but yeah, never had it on VHS.
Well, my number one, and I still have it, limited edition tin can. I actually have 2 copies, one unopened. Brag. I'm talking about Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. And it's still my favorite Fulci movie.
That was on my list too. I knew you'd have it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
have copy number 8,409 out of 20,000.
Wait, they made 20,000 of
yes,
those?
22,000.
That's why they went out of business, dude.
Yeah.
But each tin was different. Each tin had different releases. So not all of them had 20,000. Some weren't even labeled as how many there were. They just gave the number, and some I think were like 5,000 or.
Oh, interesting.
So
maybe they started at like 5,000, and then with the demand they just bumped up the amount or something.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my Hellraiser one. I got the number, but they don't tell you what it's out of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine says actually out of 20,000, but it comes with a bunch of lobby cards, like Lee, you were talking about.
Corey's holding up like 10 lobby cards, by the way.
It's a shit ton. It comes with a pretty thick fucking booklet here. It's awesome, and it comes with multiple versions of the movie. And it's just a beautiful cover art, a beautiful tin can, just absolutely amazing. And like I said, still my favorite Fulci film. Zach and I will get to it one day, obviously. But Zach, did you have this? And what are your thoughts on The Beyond?
I did. I remember when it came out because there was a screening. I think Anchor Bay went around showing it in the theaters, like boutique theaters. There was a theater up in the Bay Area called Camera 3, and that's where I saw The Beyond for the first time, probably. And then like a comic book graphic novel came out around the same time. I have that with the full soundtrack in the back, which is great. And then I got the vinyl.
I don't.
Oh, dude, it's beautiful. And then, yeah, I had that tin, and I sadly, my tins got sold to Amoeba Records, and I remember the guy bringing all of them in. He's like, "You sure you want to get rid of these?" I go, "Yeah." And there was one I held on to because he goes, "I think you can get more money for this on eBay." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I held on to it. But yeah, it's beautiful, man. What they put out was fantastic. I know Grindhouse is putting out a new version. Or it's already out now, I believe. Or there's like a 4K version. Their Blu-ray is out now, but the 4K is coming out soon.
I thought that was Blue Underground had that.
It
one.
is, but it's like their offshoot company.
Okay.
So,
well, and you mentioning the first time you saw it was at that theater release. This was the first time I had ever seen the movie in its entirety. Was with this release here. I think I'd seen bits and pieces of it at like comic book conventions or something,
right.
And they were crappy, VHS copies of a copy of a copy of a copy. This was like, I was excited to get this because I'm like, I felt like it was very hard to find up until this point, and I was like, oh my God, I'm finally getting a chance to see it. And it was like one of those movies that it had so much hype for me, and it didn't let me down at all. Lee, did you have that release, or what's your thoughts on that movie in general?
Oh, I love it. It is again my favorite Fulci. I didn't have it on VHS, and I didn't have the tin. I have, going back to Anchor Bay still, the Fulci collections, where they would have 2 movies on one case. So I have that. That's where I first got it, was during that one, and then I've upgraded every time I got it on Blu-ray. But no, I've seen it a couple times in theater actually. I have to go to Toronto to see it, but we have Rue Morgue magazine up here in Toronto.
Oh yeah.
And back in the day, they would do a movie night every third Thursday of the month, and every time they did The Beyond, I'd go. So I've seen it twice, I think. And it came with the Beyond barf bag and all that stuff, all that novelty stuff. And it was like hilarious. Awesome. But no, if I'm recommending a Fulci movie, it's The Beyond over anything else.
Yeah, and I think all my knowledge of The Beyond came from an issue of Rue Morgue. I can't remember if it was an issue that was specifically for The Beyond, or if it was like Fulci in general, but I do remember graduating from Fangoria to Rue Morgue, and for a while I was a huge Rue Morgue fan. I felt like their articles were just very deep and thoughtful. I think when I started getting out of Fangoria, Zach, was the post Tony Timpone era,
Yeah, and Rue Morgue took over and just like gangbusters. It's so great. And yeah, The Beyond is his finest piece of work, and it's probably like the best dreamlike horror film there ever has been or ever will be. And
up to maybe Phantasm. I think Phantasm probably takes that case. Well, actually, Zach, what are your thoughts? Like Phantasm or The Beyond? What's a better dreamlike horror movie? Apples and oranges.
I mean, a little bit. Like The Beyond is just so much more expansive, I think, in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
The first versus the first Phantasm movie, which like toe dips. Phantasm is like an indie movie, that it's like got that indie cred, and then The Beyond is like, to me, it's like a big budget version. Just. That's the differences between the two. I think The Beyond, I can't compare the two. I won't do it.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful film. My two, I got an honorable and a dishonorable mention. My honorable mention, gonna shout out our buddy David Irons, and the first time I ever saw Demons was the clamshell VHS. So Anchor Bay.
Yeah, good one, dude.
And that was another one I think I picked up because I'd read an article about it in probably Rue Morgue or Fangoria or something, and I was like, oh, I got to see this movie. And so I picked it up, and I loved it. Didn't let me down at all. Loved that clamshell. My dishonorable mention, and I guess it's no knock on Anchor Bay, it's more the movie itself, but it's another movie that I bought sight unseen because I was like, I should watch this. It was The Crazies, Ramiro's version of the original version of The Crazies, and I was so excited to watch it, and I was not like terribly let down, but I was like, oh, this was okay. And yeah, one of the few times, Zach and I talk about it before, but it's one of the remakes that I actually like better than the original was the Oliphant one. Lee, have any thoughts on the Crazies, Ramiro's The Crazies? Did you have that one on Anchor Bay?
Not VHS. On DVD, I still do.
What do you think of the movie in general?
Complete opposite. I do enjoy it.
Cool.
I did like the remake. But again, I did enjoy the original Crazies. I think I have the Arrow Blu-ray of it as well. But no, like it was I can't shit on it. I enjoyed the Crazies. There's not many Romero movies I can talk crap about. I think most of them I enjoy. Don,
I do like that
favorite.
look of the white with the gas mask and everything. I do like that visual, and I think we will cover the Crazies, as a remake, one of another one of the series of original versus remake. Zach, I'll break down the original. I wouldn't mind rewatching it just because I haven't seen it sort of since that clamshell release. So
Yeah.
maybe my sensibilities have changed by now and everything.
Well, if we're going to make a list of remakes that I enjoy, that would probably make the list.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole lot of remakes I won't touch again. But Dawn did. Crazies was good. We want to count The Thing.
You have to.
Yeah, I mean, The Thing is, a remake. And that's,
Yeah.
we always use that as an example. I can't just blatantly say I hate, remakes because The Thing's a remake,
Yeah.
And I do love Dawn of the Dead, the remake. I actually like it more than the original. But it doesn't mean I don't love the original. I still love the original. I just kind of like the remake a bit more. And just for everyone out there, my favorite Ramiro movie of all time is Day of the Dead. I love how bleak that movie is. It's just horribly bleak. Like you walk away from that movie, you feel gross, and you feel like there's no hope left, basically. and I just like how he says whirly birds.
I just love that they never remade The Fog.
I know, right? There's only one version of The Fog. Nothing else exists.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who would ever touch that?
Can I just say really quick? I'm Lee held up the Hellraiser tin. That's a really great one because it's got 1 and 2 on it.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised none of us brought up the Evil Dead Book of the Dead original.
Oh yeah. I have the Evil Dead 2
the
tin
rubber
can.
book.
Oh wait, hold on. This one.
Necronomicon.
Lee, I have number 10,725. There were 50,000 of these
Evil
made.
Dead. Yeah.
Yeah, why? Like why? So no offense, because I love it. You guys know it's more like there's not a market for that. But no, I'm talking about the and Lee's about to hold up 1 and 2 in the box. Lee is holding up the 2 Evil Dead. I mean, honestly, that's one of the most beautiful sets they ever put out. The Necronomicon books are just amazing.
Yeah.
And I think the second one had the little cackle laugh in it or something like that.
I wonder if mine still works.
I doubt it does because I have a Dusty Rhodes box set that WWE put out, and he used to he would say one of his signature lines when you push a button. It doesn't work anymore.
Let me just try. Hold on.
Holy crap! That was it. That was the real audio.
What?
Holy crap!
Wow,
that surprised me.
Impressive.
That's a testimony to Anchor Bay's quality right there.
It sure is.
Just keep them out of the sunlight, or they'll shrink and shrivel up.
There's your group honorable mention, I think, for that. But yeah, look, Anchor Bay, they're not gonna. It's not gonna be the same. Who knows? Maybe they will put out something more novelty-esque. But God bless the fact that they existed in the first place. And on the secondhand market on eBay, you can get some of these for a fairly reasonable price.
Most of them, yeah. As long as they've had separate releases. Was it Midnight Hour? Is that one that...
Midnight Hour is another... Yeah, that's another one that's good.
That I don't think has been released ever since.
No.
So look in the prices for those, and you're looking at close to at least 70 up. So if you want to pay for it,
I mean, like, they gotta use a different kind of Blu-ray case, right? Like, I mean, at this point, they have to do something different to harken back to the clamshells. I don't know if I want like a full clamshell version, because that would take up a lot of space. But they gotta do something, right?
Well, Vinegar Syndrome's doing it right.
Yeah,
they got like the nice hard cardboard boxes, so they're putting a lot of
I know, like Anchor Bay would put out colored DVD cases as well. Like when they issued the Black Hole, it was a red
I remember
DVD case, which is pretty rad. So I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, Black Hole, another of the Disney movies that are scary as fuck when you watch them as a kid.
I mean, I honestly put Something Wicked at the top. But,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but clearly Black Hole is great.
Yeah.
And Return of Oz.
Good Lord. Oh man, well, Lee, so happy to have you on the resurrection of the watch list, bro. It's been however many years we've done one of these, and I think we should bring him back into the mix, Zach, because this was so much fun. I just like reminiscing and talking about this shit.
Lee's already bringing up topics that we can have him back on. Now I'm already thinking about things that we could have Lee back on. So
honorary night will represent.
Yeah.
Well, Lee, where you want to plug where people can find you out there if they want to chat with you on the gram?
I'm not very entertaining, but if they want to find me, I'm on Instagram at Vandelay77.
And that is a Seinfeld reference, right?
It is, yeah, it is. It was. I can go into the backstory of that, but that'll take forever. But maybe off air I'll tell you the backstory. But it's not that entertaining. But I just kept it.
Well, I mean, we talk to you pretty much every single day, so I'd say you are pretty entertaining to talk to.
You can chat with me on your feeds, because I repost and resend or chat with you guys there, so they can reply there if they want.
Oh, Lee, it's been a blast having you on here, man, and talking to you.
Long time coming.
And everyone, go out and check out the Tales from the Video Store that Lee was on, and that's on the $2 late fee Patreon. That's patreon.com/$2 late fee TWO. Zach, what you got going on? This month coming up is going to be April. So what's going on $2 late fee?
Well, we just wrapped up. Sadly, we just wrapped up Martial Art Madness on $2 late fee, and we're going into April with our most mainstream movie we've ever done yet. We're actually going to be talking about 16 Candles.
Oh, so, I was going to say more so than Pretty Woman?
Yeah, more so than Pretty Woman. We're celebrating the 40th anniversary of 16 Candles with a slightly different twist as far as our guest is concerned. It's a great one. We just finished our interview with her last week. So listen to the interview to find out who is going to be on the week after. But it's going to be a very musically charged month on $2 late fee, because 80s Kids Unite, which will be on Podcasting After Dark, and $2 late fee will be covering Live Aid from 1985. That was a very funny discussion. So, and just a quick plug, if anybody's wondering, 80s Kids Unite is a show where the patrons of Podcasting After Dark and $2 late fee get to submit topics that we will discuss on the show, like Lee did. That will be coming up soon too. So if you want to be a part of the fun, sign up to patreon.com/podcasting after dark. And give us your ideas, your suggestions for the Night Boys, a.k.a. 80s Kids Unite.
Yeah. Lee, I have yours written down. We have like a master list, an iPhone, shared notes. So I have all the ones you've suggested on there and everything. So thank you. Just want to say thank you in person for suggesting those ideas.
Problem. Anytime I have a brain fart, I just send another one.
Do it, bro. Anytime you do, I just add it to the list, buddy. So it's all good. But thank you for that. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thanks for being a great friend, man, for these past 4 years, and this is the first time we've ever actually talked face to face, you and me.
Well, Zach was a month ago, maybe?
Yeah, about a month ago, yep.
it's wild, man. Just like people doing this shit. But I mean, seriously, guys and gals, Lee's been with us since pretty much the beginning, and he's been a Patreon member for just as long. So also, thank you so much for that as well, my friend. It's always appreciated and everything. So thank you.
Like I said, money well spent for sure.
I'm glad you feel that way. And thank you for coming on the watch list and helping us resurrect the watch list.
No problem.
Guys and gals
Anytime.
out there, I don't think this is going to be the last time you'll hear from Lee. So
unless you get a bunch of hate mail, then maybe.
Lee,
Crystal's gonna go, how come I wasn't invited?
She was.
To that.
I've invited Crystal on before, so
Come on, Crystal.
Come on, Crystal. You got to get out there.
Don't be chicken shit.
Right.
But Lee, you're going to take us home. And as always,
we'll catch you on the dark side.
Be sure to subscribe to Podcasting After Dark and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Support Podcasting After Dark on Patreon. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Podcasting After Dark. And visit us next time for another installment of Podcasting After Dark with Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer.